Guys, I've been wanting to leave social media again recently. And I know that's a really common sentiment that I always say in the past episodes about how I feel pressured with social media and seeing other people live their lives. But recently it's been happening again. Summer edition, that is. I feel like all of my friends, all of my co-content creators, they're in Siargao right now and they're all doing sunset photos and they're all making TikToks with their barkada in front of the beach or something. I mean, syempre, it's very understandable because it's March and it's summer, but it really made me feel pressured in a sense. It made me ask myself, am I supposed to be somewhere right now? Luckily, I've been able to snap myself out of my phone and remove that feeling because I told myself and because I know that summer is not a location. It is a feeling. At bakit? But before anything else, let me just introduce myself. This is Kenty, DJ Kenty, ang iyong kaibigan at ang iyong kaibigan. And today, I just want to ask something. So what if di aesthetic ang summer mo? So what if hindi aesthetic ang ating mga lives? Are we not gonna be able to enjoy just because it's not aesthetic? Also, this episode is gonna be special because I'm gonna be talking in Bisaya. My mother tongue debut. At bakit? Pag maghula ko about summer, sa una, growing up, ang pinakauna nga picture dyan nga musulod sa kong utok kay ang dagat. Sa una mo good sa province, sa Zamboanga del Norte, kay dili biya ko taga Cebu, di ba? Duol ra kay among balay sa dagat, like 20 steps away ra jud siya, like literal jud siya nga duol ra jud among balay sa dagat. Ya sa una no, if mahapon, ya init kaayo. Paabot na ako mga igagaw sa balay, then makigligo na rin sa dagat. Ya ana ra dayon, makabalo na rin ko na summer na siya because mga ligo mig dagat, magdala rin mig towel, magdala mig mga chichirya, magbaklay ra migikan sa balay padulong sa dagat. Ing ana akong summer before, nas in summer gid siya, kay dagat, hapon, init, na ako mga igagaw, doon na kayo mong balay sa dagat. Pag high school ko, ing ana rin hapon, pero akong kauban kaya ako mga high school na friends. Pero now na ni-graduate na ko, I'm spending my summer here in the city. Kasi I moved here for school and for my post-grad life. And I've realized now my summer doesn't look like the summer that I had when I was growing up before. My summer looks a little different now. My definition of summer recently is me editing content in the afternoon while the sunlight hits my desk. I'll step outside of where I'm renting and I'll immediately feel the heat. Or my summer even looks like me going to the mall all of the time because it's free air conditioner in there. At first, it almost made me feel that I was really missing out because my summer doesn't look like the Instagram posts that I've been seeing recently in social media. But to be really honest, I still get that summer feeling. It's like the reason I still get that summer feeling is because the same signals are still present. The heat, the brightness of the afternoon, and murag ma-notice na ko that people's energy are just slower at this time of this year. Even without the beach, parang the days are lasting longer. It's like even in 5 p.m. after editing, I would step outside and the sun would still be there. I'd sometimes feel the urge to step out, get something cold, or just pause for a bit. And yesterday, I did exactly that. After sitting on my laptop for hours, I walked to a convenience store kasi grabe the heat was so intense. I grabbed a cold Goodday Friz before heading back. That moment, the bright sky, the parang sunlight and everything, the cold break while I was sweating because it was just so hot, that weirdly gave me the same reset feeling that I used to get in the province when I was with my cousins in the beach. But it made me realize that summers really aren't locations, they're feelings. And I think mauna siyang reason why summer still feels like summer, even if dili na ko dool sa dagat anymore. Kaya dili mo na siya ang dagat itself. Usahay, it's the murag elements that are present in our lives basta maabot na ang March. Ang kainit, murag naturally mo slow down ka. Ang adlaw, dugay na ka siya mo set, like even 6 p.m. na naaghapoy sunlight. Nya di dyan makalimtan ang mga small drinks. Apil dyan siya ang pause, apil dyan siya ang mga elements nga present basta summer. Also very fascinating lang. Fascinating? Na with Goodday Friz, I found out na it contains Lactobacillus Paracesei or something. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I am so sorry. But it's just so fascinating kasi it helps support immunity by helping the body produce antibodies. And in result, it prevents common colds and enhance effectiveness of certain vaccines, such as influenza vaccines, o diba? Each 240 ml can of Goodday Friz, it contains 2 billion paraprobiotics. So when I'm cooling down from the heat, it's also supporting my body. It is the safer option for people with weak immunity because it's good bacteria, it's no longer alive. So even if my summer now happens between editing sessions, mga cafe breaks, or mga convenience store runs instead of beach trips, yung feeling, it's still there. It just shows up in smaller, everyday moments. Also, in addition to that, now that I've graduated, I've also parang changed my mindset that summer doesn't really feel like a destination anymore. Instead, it's like a checkpoint in my life. A little throwback ulit. When I was in school, in high school before, summer breaks always created this parang natural pause in my life. Classes would end, deadlines would disappear, and it's like there's space again to breathe or something. Usually before, I would use that time to reset some parts of my life that would usually become messy in regular academic years. Diba usually when school starts to end, academic deadlines pile up, so my room would become so messy with the requirements, mga projects, mga papers, and then my routines would feel scattered, my sleeping schedule would feel messed up. Summer is usually the time na I would start fixing these things little by little. I would start syempre with my room. I would fix it. I would clean all the projects and all the paper. I'd rebuild back my routine, my sleeping schedule. Parang a decluttering moment of my life. And summer becomes that reset point in my life. It's a moment na parang I get to slow down because during regular school hours before, everything is so fast-paced and very deadline concerned, and like summer just puts a pause on that. Summer becomes that in my mind. 'Di ba, syempre, if mo pause ang mga butang, if dili na siya always deadlines, murag, it gives you this moment to parang reflect and think about things. Makunahon ako if naba ko'y mga ganahan nga mga butang nga ganahan i-pursue, naba ko'y mga hobbies na ganahan i-continue again, or ganahan ibton, naba ko'y mga habits na nakuha na ko from the school year na ganahan ako i-change. Murag, summer is the time to do that. Kaya na magoy natural pause, na magoy moment na dili na ka magukod og deadline all the time. Mahimo gid ang summer nga murag gid siya pang reset sa akong kinabuhi at vacat. Which is why now that I've graduated, I still notice na it's still the same pattern even if I'm not technically in school anymore. Pero before, instead of reorganizing my room and reorganizing the projects, the academic papers that I have because of school, now I would reorganize my notebooks where I would write my content on. I'd also sometimes check if my hobbies are still intact, if my routines are still working for me, is my sleep schedule still working for me. I'd also use this moment to experiment more with my content. I know these things don't feel dramatic or very life-changing, but it still parang creates this sense na I'm realigning myself before the fast-paced seasons in life begin. Because of these sentiments, I've really realized na summer isn't really something that you travel to. Sometimes it's simply a moment in our lives na we can get to pause and reflect and think about things if they're still working for us. Na-feel good kayo na ko ni, especially pag-graduate na ako. Na murag moment na ako after nakahuman kong eskwela, nga murag everything felt open-ended. Nawala na mga deadlines. Nga murag naasad ko time to think about what direction I wanna take in life. Makahinumdum kog summer, basta maka-go through kog mga ingana na phases sa akong life. Ma-realize na ko na summer, it gives you this time to bloom and really think, instead of it being a extravagant thing na you always have to catch up something and go to the beach and something. Because of that, summer becomes a valuable time in my life, not because of where I can get to go and travel, but because it allows me to do what I want to do with my time. It becomes the moment in my life where I can give myself permission to really pause, really slow down. During those quieter moments, I usually step away from what I'm doing and take a short break before returning to work. Usually when I do that, I open a Goodday Friz while sitting by my desk and just, let the afternoon slow down a bit. Moments like that remind me that summer doesn't really need you need to have big plans and big travel vacations. Sometimes its purpose is just to really create space. Even if recently my days are so ordinary because I'm not in the province and near the beach anymore, it still feels like summer in its own way. And it also makes me curious about how summer manifests itself to other people as well. Maybe for some of you, summer isn't really about resetting habits in the way that it was for me. Maybe it's the time that you actually become more active. To some people, it might mean that they get to finally spend more time outside, visit relatives that they haven't visited in a while, or find friends or join communities that they haven't done in the other times of the year. And for others, summer might mean that their ordinary days start to feel a little different. Maybe you allow yourself to sleep later, you play more video games. These are small habits, but they change the rhythm of our lives. Did you not realize that summers aren't always defined by vacations or big plans. Usahay, it's the small changes in the rhythms of our lives and revisiting our old habits. That's why motojud ko nga laylay atong experiences with summer. This is also the reason why I like really internalize to myself that it's okay if my summer isn't necessarily aesthetic. Because when I think about an aesthetic summer, I realize that most of the ideas that pop in my head come from social media and what I see online. Summer is often showed na it looks like very Instagram perfect. Everyone looks perfect. The beaches look perfect. The coconut drinks look perfect. And I'm not gonna lie, it made me parang feel like summer can only be summer if it looks like that. But again, when I pay attention to my own days, especially after graduating, I noticed that it's not just that makes summer feel like summer. It made me realize that in my own little ways and my own little mundane things, I can still feel summer. Just like the things that I mentioned before, na it's always so hot, the afternoons are so much longer, and like I'd stop outside and like get a cold drink or something. These things, they're not big events, but there's always still that things are slowing down, which means it's probably summer type of feeling. Manotice gid po na ko siya sa akong mga small routines. Ma-realize gid ako nga, ako mga pag-adlaw-adlaw nga pagkabuhi. Dili man siya necessarily ka ng Instagram perfect, pero the summer feeling, it's still there. It made me realize that experiences, they do not need to be curated for me to be able to enjoy them. Life in general doesn't have to be curated and it doesn't have to look Instagram perfect for you to be able to enjoy it. Some of the best moments in our lives happen when it just happens naturally, when we don't parang try to control it. It might be again the quiet afternoons or the conversations that you have with your friends or like simply noticing that our days are lighter than usual. When those small joys appear, that already becomes a part of how summer should feel like. Tinood man nga lahi-lahi tayong experiences tanan. For some, ang ilang summer is like big vacations good. Nya for some people, ang ilang summer is like mukalma, mauli sila silang probinsya, mag-enjoy sila og family dinner with their family, kaya napalayo sila silang family for a while. Lahi-lahi tayong experiences sa summer tanan and dili siya kailangan nga mahimong aesthetic for it to be valid and for it to be a real experience of what summer should be. And you know, as this episode comes to an end, my exact realization is that summer shouldn't have a look. And it shouldn't belong to like one type of experience only. I mean, of course, it's really easy to feel that way because it's what we see online all of the time. But when I step back, I realize the summer shows up in very different ways in my life. In small little ways, that is. Before, it was the beach. Sometimes it's the big plans. But most of the times, it's the small, quiet moments in my life. Maybe the real invitation of summer is not to chase a perfect version of it, but instead to notice what summer is offering to you right now in this time of your life. And again, just like what I've mentioned, it's gonna look different for you, it's gonna look different for the other person, for the people that we see online, but every version of summer is valid. Our summers do not need to look uniformed in order for it to be summer. So instead of comparing your version of summer to other people, especially those that you see online, I think it might be better if you ask yourself a simpler question. What actually makes summer feel good for you? Is it like the mundane things, the conversations, the permission to, allow yourself to slow down? Is it those? Because even if those things do not feel exciting, they often end up being the things that stay with us for the longest time. And as long as you're enjoying it, that's really the most important thing. And that's really what makes summer, summer. And if you ask me, summer are always best when they're paired with something refreshing, which in my case, it's always, almost all of the time, Goodday Friz. So whenever this season finds you, you might be working, you might be taking a pause in your life, or you might be doing those big vacations that I just mentioned. It doesn't need to look perfect to be meaningful. As long as you're present, as long as you yourself, you're enjoying yourself, that already counts as summer. I think here, mag-end ang episode, I just think that it's really important to remind ourselves of this, that it's okay if our summers do not look perfect and Instagram worthy. In its own quiet way, para sa atin ang summer